everybody? Welcome back to the Paladins Balanced Ideas, courtesy of us. In the last episode, 5 months ago, we discussed the tanks. In this episode, we go over everyone's favorite bottoms, the healers. We are trying to balance for all levels with different player skill and play styles. This has certain champions doing better or worse than other levels. For example, Moji is extremely strong in quick play and in low levels, but is complete garbage in high tier and in competitive. What we're trying to do is to create changes that make her better and other champions in their respective levels to make things more balanced. We aren't saying that we have the best ideas or that these are the only ways to make the game more balanced or that everything we say is the complete truth. We're just trying to make the game better from what we see. So we're not here to baby rage, and you shouldn't baby rage at what we say either. You should take all levels and modes of play into consideration and everything that we say with a large grain of salt. Starting the healer video off, we start with the newest addition to the Paladins roster, Corvus.
Somebody told me non-binary people don't exist. But I found this thing in my closet.
I like bread.
Iridosa Clytus Supreme. What are your thoughts on Corvus?
Alright, where do I start? Corvus is the newest healer. He's been out for about a week now, so it's hard to say that we have like definitive thoughts on like what he is and where he will be in the future. But from my experience playing him, having been out live for like a week and like PTS, I played him a few games. He seems very underwhelming compared to every other healer and like new champion release that's come out recently. There's a lot of things that I don't like about him. There are some things I do like about him, like his gun. I think his gun is very fun. I think the mark is a very like cool idea. But there's a lot of things where I feel like he falls short and isn't really successful compared to other healers. I noticed there's a bug where if someone disconnects from a match and they're replaced with the bot, even if they come back, you cannot put a mark on that person, which is a pretty big bug that affects his gameplay a lot, but I'm sure that'll be patched out. But moving on to his balance stuff, his self-sustain cards, first of all, are bad. Price Salvation is like not enough to sustain yourself, even if you have like the lifesteal card, which also is kind of inconsistent, so it's not really like worth saying that Price of Salvation is good because he also has like the lifesteal card. I think that needs to be like a doubled Price of Salvation, possibly like maybe not double, but like better. I think his movement ability is absolute garbage. I think with Stunning Visage it becomes like a nice like helpful utility tool to add to your team, but if you're not running that talent, then it's not good because it has so much like lag and casting time, and it's not very useful to like escape or do anything with it really. And even if you are running Stunning Visage, then you don't have the heal output, so you need to be like a secondary healer only. And as Corvus, you're good as a secondary healer, but you can't be a main healer. And there's not too many team comps in this game where having two healers is like really good in comparison to having any other team comp. And his only good like solo healing is with his Spreading Influence talent, which is still like not as good as other healers because the cooldown of his base healing ability is 4 seconds, and there's no cards to like decrease that, and it's like a really long cooldown for a healer to be healing people. Not only that, but once you get that 4-second cooldown, it starts off with the 350 healing over 0.5 seconds instead of starting off with 800 and then finishing with the burst. So when you finally get that heal off, it's not immediately enough to sustain your like teammates half the time. What else? There's his ultimate, which I don't like because it forces you to like rocket into the sky and become vulnerable, and it also has like a pretty like weird cast time, so you like are stuck in the air doing nothing for a bit and everyone can see you. So I wish that like one, it had less like cast time so you could actually cast ultimate faster, and two, that you didn't have to like jump into the air, like you could choose to jump into the air or you could choose to stay on the ground when you casted it. And last thing, his DR card, it's garbage. Why would I run 5% DR? Why would I put any levels to just 5%? It doesn't increase any beyond 5%. That's useless.
You didn't you have a game like you had a Corvus match and then after that you tried Grohk, and you had some notes about that.
Yeah, the last video we did, this is the retake of a previous video. We hated on Grohk a lot because Grohk felt really bad and he was like easily the worst healer. But now I feel like with the small buffs that he got to Spirit's Domain, that Spirit's Domain Grohk is a better main healer than Corvus is. And I'd rather pick Grohk over Corvus, even though Grohk was considered like the worst healer in my opinion last patch.
Notes for me. Since he's been out for only about a week, I really haven't had a chance to play him. I think I played him like once or twice in PTS. Or at PTS? Yeah, PTS. I played him like once and he felt really weird. His healing it felt super inconsistent. So I'm speaking for someone who has had him as more of a main healer, more than anything. Receiving healing from him, not playing as healer. And playing against him, obviously. But, he's not a great healer. I mean, as a second healer, like pairing him with like a Jenos or a Grohk, he does okay. But as a main healer, he's really not that good. He's a pretty solid damage dealer, though. His gun has a pretty good amount of damage output, but it's not anything insane. And his talents really leave a lot to be desired. Overall, I'd just say he's kind of a mediocre addition to the heal roster right now. Maybe in the future he could be better. He has a lot of potential, but right now he's just kind of meh. I'd say if you want him to be a better main healer, maybe up his heal amount or reduce his cooldown or make his cards better or just do something. Because right now he is just, yikes, he is like... The only way I could see someone running a main healer Corvus is if the team itself has a lot of self-sustain. Like the meta right now is kind of shifting towards single tank 3 damage, where if you got like a Khan or like an Inara or something like that, then you have a Buck flank, you have a Victor running cardio, and you got like a healer, and then like you got the Corvus healer, and then maybe like a Skye or something running, debilitate, or the talent I can never remember. It's not debilitate, it's not smoke and dagger. It's not smoke and dagger, it's the other one. Preparation, whatever that. If you're running that, and the team itself has good, self-sustain, maybe you could run Corvus for a little bit of extra punch, but like, other than that, I don't really see Corvus being used much. He's just kind of meh. He was like Grohk last patch. He was just bad. Alright. Senpapi Supreme, what are your thoughts on Furia? Shit!
Furia's pretty good. She's pretty great. She's consistently been pretty good. And they recently nerfed her Wrath, so it's a little less overpowered, but it's still really easy to keep up. It's nothing like a huge problem. It's not a big deal. So I think overall she's pretty good. The only thing that I kind of wish happened was that if she died and like after she casted her ultimate, that the ultimate stopped affecting her teammates. So there's some kind of counterplay to it because it is a very strong ultimate, and I'm pretty sure it affects. They don't have anything stating whether or not it does still affect them, but I'm pretty sure it does. So that's the only changes I'd say. Other than that, I think she's actually like really good.
For me, overall, she's a really good healer. She's a good choice for healer. She's really versatile, and she can go from being a main support to being a little more aggressive with damage pretty easily. She's good at low and high tier play, and I mean, the only change idea I have is pretty much the same as Tyler's, the ult ending after she dies. That's about all I got. I saw you typing away, Tyler. You wanna mention that before we move on?
I forgot. Solar Blessing is a cool idea, but I feel like it's not it's not easy to use, like it's not very good. So if there was some way to possibly make it so Solar Blessing tried to target allies, so it like moved towards them instead of throwing out, because your teammates can easily just avoid it and like not know that you're throwing it at them, and then just avoid it, and then your heals are gone. Just to make it a little better.
Cellulose Supreme, what are your thoughts on Grohk?
Do not fear their feeble attack, my faithful. Nothing will stop the return of the Sith! Ride the lightning!
Alright, Grohk used to be the worst healer, and I still think he's probably the second worst healer, but he is better than he was last patch. The update they made to him, the rework, where they like did his weird totem stuff, is very confusing to me, because they gave him more totem charges in hopes of making his healing more consistent, because the totems weren't very consistent healing, but then they lowered the healing on said totems, so it's not as consistent unless you stack it, which makes it like the same cooldowns. So I think that they need to buff those totems so it is actually more consistent than his old totems. And I think that they also need like some better buffs, like a health card could be a little better than it is now, because they can die if they're getting focused really easily. And his speed card says that it increases allies' speed when they walk in the totem, but it actually provides movement speed when you ult them, which makes no sense to me. If it actually did what it said, that'd be nice. And I think if Spirit's Domain was just a little bit better, like an extra like 50 health per second or something, just a little bit extra, then I think it'd be better. But it is a lot better than it was before, and I think it's overall good. I'm overall happy with this Grohk than the last patch, but I still think that he does need buffs to be like good.
Okay. My thoughts on Grohk. Initially I was really against the Grohk changes. I really liked old Grohk. I was getting into playing him a lot. And I really enjoyed playing old Grohk. But after playing him a bit more, new Grohk isn't so bad. I actually enjoy playing him. One thing that I don't like is the totems. Emphasis on the plural. I much preferred it when there was just one larger totem. But aside from that, everything else is pretty good for the changes. It feels really good, but a little bit different. The reason I liked the one larger totem was the heal number. Instead of slapping down 2 or 3 with the talent to get comparable or less healing, I would just put 1 down and continue with the point fight. Although having 3 with the talent is good for when 1 or more go down, you can just keep the heal sustain on point or elsewhere, or just kind of separate everything, try and keep everyone alive with your totems. But for the most part, I still really enjoy playing Grohk. I really don't have anything. And Tyler, you forgot some other stuff. Jesus Christ!
His totems should be able to be. What did I just do? Should be able to be like used against walls and like while you're in the air. So you can actually, it's more consistent there.
Sentient Suitcase Supreme. What are your thoughts on Grover?
Grover's cool. Yeah, he's a tree.
Thank you.
No, for real though, he should be able to see his healing radius. That's like his biggest problem. That he himself cannot see the radius that he heals in, but his teammates can. So I think that if they showed like the radius for his healing and his ultimate as well, that would be nice. Other than that, he's pretty good. Besides Ferocity, Ferocity is absolute garbage. It makes no sense. If he got a different talent, that'd be nice. I had an idea. It's probably not a great one, but like it's an ultimate where the healing is less overall, but the range is better, and you get like a speed boost while you're in it. Idea. I don't know.
Hey Devin, what are your thoughts on Grover?
Alright, well, first of all, I'm not ready for this because you pulled me in at the last fucking second. Alright, so, the thing with Grover is, he's fine overall. I don't like the nerfs that they gave to him. They nerfed his healing radius as well as rampant blooming, and I think just all of his healing, including regular blossom and his passive heals. I'd like to see those reverted. My main issue with him at the moment is his vine, because I don't know what Hyris did to his vine, but it's just terrible now. They made the changes to it in order to improve it, but in reality they just messed it up because the UI tends to just not work at all. Like, it'll say that you can vine somewhere, and then you try and vine there, but the vine won't hit, which I thought the UI was supposed to prevent that. So they could just change that issue. I think that would just fix Grover. Just fix his healing radius, because it's really bad now.
My notes on Grover. I mean, overall, he's fine. He can spread heals around pretty good, obviously because he heals in an area, but his heals aren't completely insane. The only thing that I have that everyone else has said is show the healing radius while you're playing as him, please, and then, like, change ferocity to something else. I mean, Devin's had a lot of fun with ferocity, just pulling some stupid ass cheese, but like, it's not a good talent because it's completely overshadowed by deep roots, and even rampant blooming can be better than it in some situations. It's just, he needs something more interesting, and it doesn't necessarily have to rival deep roots. You just need something a little more interesting, I think. Damage Grover is totally fine. It can be pulled off even without ferocity. It's just, I feel like you need something a little more interesting to maybe switch it up. But that's all I got for Grover. Senpai Serenity, what are your thoughts on Io?
You mean the best girl, best healer, best champion in the game? She's the best. Obviously. What was there to talk about? I mean, she's just like amazing in every single way possible, except for her like healing capacity. But like, you know, like her design overall, like one of the most fun to use. One of the best weapons in the game. One of my favorites, at least. She's the cutest healer. She's the best waifu. I mean, really. Her last patch, she was pretty bad, but they buffed her healing numbers and they nerfed her capacity. And I still think she could use a little bit more capacity, not like a huge amount, but like it's a 150 right now, and I think it could use maybe like 160, just a little bit extra to buff it, not like a huge amount back to 200, but still it would be nice to see it a little bit. And then my biggest problem with her though is her ultimate, which is good at surviving things. Like, you can use it to survive a situation, but other than that, it's not super useful because its hitbox is so wonky. And I'm not sure if it's possible, but if you could make it a thing, it would be nicer to have two separate hitboxes. So one hitbox is the larger hitbox that like collides with the players and sucks them in, or like whatever, and then there's like a smaller center hitbox that collides with the terrain and the walls, hitting the wall right next to you, or the blade of grass beneath your foot, or whatever, right? And then, what else? I got DR, yeah, the 25% DR. I didn't think it was that overpowered. I don't think I really saw people saying that it was like this most overpowered thing in the game and need to be removed, but I guess they felt like it was too strong. But I still feel like 15% isn't great. Like, if it was 20%, maybe middle ground, I'd be a little happier. But overall, I'm happier with her now. She's one of my favorite champions by design, and I used to have a lot of fun with her. I have less fun with her now, but she's a lot better than she was last patch, at least.
For me, I mean, Io, she's pretty good. She's pretty versatile. Main tank Luna, I have to mention, is very nice when solo tanking. My god, I love that wolf when I'm solo tanking. She's a good support for more experienced healers, since there's a little bit more to manage with the capacity of heals and the Luna placement, and normal healer stuff like positioning and all that. But there's a little bit more to manage, but the time it takes to learn her ins and outs, it makes her well worth the time. Overall, she's a pretty good healer. Before her nerf, she was pretty freaking strong. Not like overpowered, but they nerfed her a little bit to where she is now, and even now she's not horrible as a healer. I think a couple Maybe a capacity buff like Tyler said would be really good, but I mean, overall she's pretty good. I have no complaints playing as or against. Okay, Centurion Supreme. What are your thoughts on Jenos?
Jenos is cool. He's big brain, galaxy brain, but he's pretty boring as a healer. I mean, he's a fine healer, but I just feel like he's really like boring as a healer. His healing is like you just slap it on people and then you shoot stuff, and like the healing is okay, but I feel like it could be better. As like a solo healer, I was like it's enough to stay in your team, but only if your team is kind of like built to be more survivable in the first place and have self sustain. So I think that they should introduce a talent that would buff the healing over time that he has on his healing, so he's more of a viable solo healer, and you could use it to rival Illuminary then, which is like the only like competitively viable talent right now. And you could maybe nerf that to like 10% to make it even more of a like an option, and replace the power Cosmium because I hate it. It's stupid. It annoys me when I get hit with it. And I really don't like it with Falling Star, which is the card that makes it so if it's a maxed out and you kill someone that's been gripped by it within 4 seconds of them being gripped or like after, you get 100% reset on all your cooldowns, which means you can cripple and grab people over and over and over, which is really annoying. So, I don't know. That's all I got, I guess.
For me, Jenos, I mean, his base kit's totally fine. His passive heals could maybe use a little bit of a buff. They're not completely fantastic, but I mean, overall, his base kit's totally fine. I would say replace the gun damage talent. I forget what it's called. Do you know what it's called, Tyler?
Binary Star?
Thank you. Binary. Is it Binary Star?
Binary Splitter? Binary Stars? I don't know.
One of those. Just the
Binary
gun.
Sunset, yep.
Just replace the gun talent with maybe a heal over time talent received buff to challenge Luminary, which is like the only meta talent. Like when you target someone with your heals, they get like more healing over time. Make him a little more of a healer with his talents rather than an offensive focused healer. I guess that makes enough sense. I mean, right now though, he's totally fine. I have no complaints with him. Power Cosmium can be a little annoying sometimes, but I mean, it's a totally... Right now, he's in a pretty good place. I have no complaints. I have no change ideas other than what I said would be kind of nice, but he doesn't need anything right now, so he's totally fine. Senpai Stovetop. What are your thoughts on Maldamba?
Son of a bitch, Ball, why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home?
I like Maldamba. I used to really enjoy Maldamba, and I still think he's good, but I really miss his otherworldly card, because it used to give you up to 50% speed boost after using Slither, and now it's just a small shield that I don't really care about. But having that speed was so nice to be able to like get away from enemies or to reposition yourself, to be able to like heal your ally that's in like a faraway spot or whatever. It was just such a nice card to use, and it was so fun. And like having that card gone, it instantly takes away like 50% of the fun in playing Maldamba for me. So I wish that that card came back instead of the shield that we have now. I don't really know why it went away. I don't know, but I'd like it back. And then I think they nerfed Ripen Gourd a little bit because it is a pretty strong talent. Like the healing is kind of insane compared to his other heals. I think it would be a little more balanced. But overall, I think he is like a really good healer that takes a lot of skill to like, get really good at and pull off to like the like big levels. So I think he's cool. I think he's good.
Okay, my thoughts. He's a fine healer. He takes a little bit more time to get used to than someone like Seris or Jenos, but a lot like Io, the time is worth the benefits. I really have no changes that I can suggest. I used to play a good bit of Maldamba back in open beta. A lot of people. I played a lot of Paladins back in open beta. But I mean, I really don't have any changes. He was just buffed and is in a pretty good spot. His gourd talent is pretty strong. But I mean, I really don't have anything that I think I could change. Tyler had some not bad ideas, but personally, I think he's pretty fine right now. So, yeah, that's about it. Scree of classic sedimentary stone called Shale Supreme. What are your thoughts on Pip?
All the single fairies.
First of all, the Invader skin is a good skin. Second of all, he's a really fun healer, but I feel like he's a little inconsistent with his mechanics. And they recently got rid of the mid-air inaccuracy on all of his like his whole kit, so using Combat Medic is a lot easier. But like using potions is still kind of hard because sometimes you'll throw it out and it'll pop right in front of your face, or it'll like hit a wall that you don't want it to hit, or it'll hit a full health, ally that got in the way of the like potential heals for like a low health ally. So I think that there was just some like changes to make that a little like better, so the potion like didn't explode right in front of your face, or like it went through like full health allies or something. Maybe it like tried to track them or something. I don't know, just something to make it a little more consistent instead of like random to me. That would be really nice to make him a lot better. Catalyst as well is another thing I don't like about him. I like Flank Pip is really annoying to me. I don't think it should really exist, and I understand the appeal of having like a damage healer, but I feel like he has such good cards, and Catalyst is so strong that it makes him like stronger than it needs to be for a damage support. So I think if they change that to be like a 10 to 15% damage boost instead of the 20% it is now, but then applying it to all like your allies, so that person just gets a debuff instead of just using the bonus effect, which I believe is how it works, because there's not actually anything in the game telling me whether or not it applies to all your allies or not, but I don't think it does. So if you update the description and maybe just made it apply to allies, that would be nice as well. But overall, he's fun, he's good. He's just his potion's just a little wonky sometimes.
Alright, for me, Pip, God, me and Pip go really far back. He's probably one of my favorite healers, but he can lack in quality sometimes. His cards are pretty solid, and his talents are good, and his base kit is pretty fun. As a healer, though, he does well in pure numbers, but he can get overwhelmed sometimes, and if he needs to really spread around some heals. I mean, in pure numbers, he does fine. He's a totally fine healer. I've gotten 100,000, 100k plus games with Pip totally fine, completely reasonably, but he can just get overwhelmed sometimes, and I think that's the only problem with him. I don't know how they'd really change that, but if anything, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's a totally fine healer, just a note that he can get overwhelmed sometimes. Yeah, that's about it. Sauerkraut Stealer Supreme, what are your thoughts on Seris?
Gaze into the abyss!
I think she's a really good like beginning healer. Like for like new players to the game, she is like a really good like new player friendly healer, and I think she's good for that. I don't really want to see her like be super overpowered, because it can easily get to that point if you buff her too much. But I do think that she does need some minor buffs. I think that first of all, her like the healing numbers themselves are okay. It's just that it takes so long for those heals to like go out. Like, it's 1.5 seconds at base, and then Mortal Reach adds like an extra second onto that, making you stuck in heals for a long time. Whereas if it was just like the same number of heal, but just like overall like the same output, but in shorter time, it would be better, and she'd feel better and be used at maybe higher levels, as well as if they buffed her escape ability, so she actually like transformed into that mode faster, because right now she has a pretty big amount of time where she can just get shot out of it, which kind of defeats the purpose of it, I feel, unless you use a card. Then you gotta dedicate a card, which doesn't feel super worth it. But I don't know. And sometimes her ultimate range feels a little big, but it's not like the biggest deal in the world. So that's all I got.
Okay. My thoughts on Seris. Just like Tyler said, she's a really good starter healer. She does lack in high tier play though, which kind of like Tyler outlined. It's because of how long the heals take. It's like she's stuck completely out in the open, just completely screwed from anything that gets up behind her because she's stuck in heals. So I feel like some of the changes that Tyler proposed could work really well, but I think what might work better is, or could work better, I should correct myself, could work better, would to have Soul Restore let it be cancelled. Because the healing numbers are totally fine, as Tyler said, and as I feel the same. But if the ability could just be cancelled, she could obviously stop healing to defend herself. And that would allow her to be used more. It would allow her to be a little more self-preserving, allow her to have an escape option when she has to get out of there. But, I mean, aside from that, I really don't have anything to talk about. Senpai Saber Sniffer. What are your thoughts on Ying?
Ying is a really fun healer, but I feel like she kind of lost a bit of healing charm in favor for damage, which makes me kind of sad because I used to play a lot of Ying and she was a healer, and now she, like half the time I see Yings on my team or the enemy team, they're running a damage build, and it hurts me because she should be a healer, but they're running her like a damage. So I think that there's something that needs to be done about that. I think one thing that can immediately be done is resonance can be replaced, because resonance it's not good. It's not useful in any sense. I don't want to like run on my team. If I see Ying in my team and they're running resonance, I feel like we've already lost.
What does resonance do? Just for people that don't know?
It just makes it so if her explosions die, they do 500 damage or something like that. But like it's you never see it actually being useful. So if they replaced it with like the old lifelike talent, which I think was a really good talent, that would be nice, and it would offer an alternative to using life exchange, which is her only good heal talent right now. An alternate idea that I had was to make it so her ultimate becomes kind of like Snow Globe, where it can be used at 50%, so you can throw it down like at 50%, or you can wait for the 100% and throw it two at a time to like stack it. But obviously it would do like less healing overall, so you can have like a miniature ultimate, or you can have a big boom ultimate, which would be cool, I think. But I don't know, maybe I'm stupid. And other than that, like her old Shatter cooldown felt a little bit better to use for life exchange. Maybe if they just like reduce the cooldown of Shatter on life exchange itself by a second, it would feel a little better to use. But overall, like with life exchange, she's a good healer, but without, she feels a little lackluster and more like a weird damage character that isn't as good as other damage characters.
Okay. My thoughts on Ying. She's a fairly balanced healer. She's got a pretty good heal spread. She's flexible in game and can switch from damage to healing, or doing both since her illusions do the heals. Ying is a bit more of a passive healer and is for a little bit more focus shooting players. Since you just put down the illusions and when they die, you can just focus on keeping illusions up while shooting at the enemy. Life exchange is pretty good. Even when her illusions are down, you can control where the heals go. It makes Ying go from a multitask healer to a little bit more support focused. It requires a little bit more skill because you have to aim, but I mean, hitboxes are the size of Texas. But I mean, the skill of hitting it and kind of dedicating where your stuff goes is worth the time. She's used in pros every once in a while, so she's at least decent. I don't know, I really don't have much to say about Ying. She's pretty okay.